They were worried about cold butt. That's to bring the heated.
Oh, look at that reaction. Look at that. What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monty Sports Show. It is Sunday, 9/25/2022. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. I want to thank everyone who watched last week. We had 31 states tune in across the country. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of people watching the show, but we're not getting enough thumbs up. We're not getting enough people sharing this show. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like this show, please share it with someone. Give us the thumbs up. We have the best guests all across the country. This week is no exception. The rock star, I call her, Nikki Gist, is going to join us. Let me just explain before we bring her on. We're going to have her come on because she has another show at 11:30, so she's nice enough to give us about 10, 15 minutes. Last night for Nuts and Bolts Sports, I went into WordPress. Now, WordPress is where you write your articles. Most companies use this, and that's where you type up your sports articles. So because we have so many new writers, we have so many people contributing, I had to go back in and delete a ton of articles that I wrote for Nuts and Bolts Sports. This went back years ago. So I deleted about 150 of my articles. There's still 500 in the queue. The point is, I am a grinder, and so is Nikki. Every time I see her now, she's on a different show. You guys may know her from her podcast. So let's bring her on. She's going to tell us about everything she's working on, including today's show. Nikki, thanks so much for joining the Full Monty Sports Show. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, real quick, you have about 10, 15 minutes you could give us. Then you're going to your show. Tell us about all the projects you're working on, because like I said, every time I see you on social media, you're on a new show.
Yes. So of course you guys know me from 3rd and 3. It's where I started. That's my home. That's every Wednesday night at 7:00, and we kind of go over the entire league. Tuesday nights is the Giants guys, and that's a very Giants-centric podcast. We interview great people like Kurt Warner. Lawrence Tynes was just on last week. So if that is your jam, definitely subscribe to that show as well. Sundays, you guys can find me 11:30 channel side bet. So it's all daily fantasy, betting, regular fantasy. I actually have to drink wake up juice today. So watch me drink that because I did lose in my picks last week. I also do cover the Giants for Jersey Sporting News. So if you follow me, I was covering training camp all summer. And I'm always tweeting out, the lovely things that the coaches and players like Kenny Galladay had to say to the media. So, and I am doing a reality football TV show that is streaming on YouTube. It's called The Trenches, and I absolutely smashed it this week with my partner, Gladys Tyler, and the whole league is coming for us as they should be. And you guys can catch that on YouTube as well. So, thank you for letting me get that all out. I am everywhere, but I am happy to be here.
Well, really appreciate you taking the time out. We'll put your Giants background up. Real quick, talking about fantasy before we get into the Giants. I'm telling everyone who does DraftKings, who does FanDuel, take Kyle Pitts today as your tight end. He's not expensive. I write articles covering the Falcons. All week they've been talking about how they got to get Kyle Pitts involved. Seattle's defense is not good. So my steal of the week, if you're doing DraftKings or daily fantasy, is Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Atlanta.
I'm actually right there with you. He was one of my stardoms for this week for the exact reason that you said. What's crazy to me is it's taking them almost 2 years to figure out how to use this guy. And I think this is the week that they're going to do it. Like you said, against Seattle, this is a really good matchup and a really good week for them to really get him involved in the game plan, please. So, yeah, I have him as a start as well.
Yeah. All right, let's get to your Giants. We'll start from the good to the bad. They're 2-0, taking on the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. But we got to talk about Kenny Galladay. 4-year, $72 million contract, $40 million guaranteed. Last season, 37 catches. This year, in 2 games, he's been non-existent. Everyone's saying the right thing, but Nikki, this is not working out.
No, it is not working out, and I maintain that he just doesn't work in this system, right? Daniel Jones is not Matt Stafford, right? Matt Stafford was great for those garbage time TDs to Kenny Galladay. Look, people, you don't seem to understand. Kenny Galladay has never gotten separation. That's not the player he is. And I was around this team all summer there on the sidelines watching it, and Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay just do not have the chemistry together. They haven't had it since he arrived in New York last year. I didn't see it all summer. He is completely non-existent. And he did tell us this summer, he told the media, I was standing right there, that no, New York fans have not seen the real Kenny Galladay. Well, we are waiting, right? We want to see this. And I got to tell you guys, like, I was so sick of looking at him on the sidelines, just his body language, right? It's so mopey. He just looked like he didn't want to be there. And, you know, obviously it's showing. I know he thinks he should play regardless, but I think that, you know, you need to show that you want to play. It doesn't look like you want to be here at all whatsoever.
You know, you bring up a good point because Odell Beckham Jr. had great chemistry with the Giants. Then he goes to Cleveland, and him and Baker just don't match. Sometimes the quarterback, the wide receiver just don't mix. But you're saying he doesn't have the separation. He did put up good numbers with Matthew Stafford, so he is capable of producing. But I agree with you. The mopiness, the defeated, the body language is terrible. And if I'm the quarterback, that's when you say, hey, I'm going to get you the ball next time. Let's go. Let's go. Stop with this negative BS.
Yeah. He just, you know, even around him, you try to interview him, just gives off like, I don't want to be here vibes. Like, I don't want to answer your questions. And look, I know the media, especially in New York, can be brutal. But it was just, I've seen it all summer. So I am not surprised that he is not producing. However, the issue is, he's paid like a number 1 wide receiver.
Yes,
you are
exactly.
the number 1 wide receiver,
Exactly.
and we can't figure it out. I called it a Gettleman panic signing, which a lot of people said, oh, no, Nikki, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not a panic sign. Well, it was a panic signing and another Dave Gettleman mess that the Giants organization has to deal with.
Yeah, okay, let's move to the defense. You said a couple months ago on this show that this Giant defense could be top 10. They're ninth in points giving up, only giving up 18 points a game, and they're first on a third down. They're not giving up third downs at all. First downs on third down. Why did you think this Giant defense would be so good? I loved Blake Martinez when he was with the Packers. I loved him, but obviously injuries, they let him go. The guy was a tackling machine. Talk about how come this Giant defense has been playing lights out.
Yeah, so I noticed like in the beginning of the summer, I just thought there was some really good young talent. And I know that sometimes, and I have talked about the young talent being a concern in a very complex Wink Martindale defense, but they have said all summer, listen, you have to be really intelligent to play in this defensive scheme that Wink has put together. And there we're all really excited to be aggressive, right? We haven't seen that in the Giants defense for a long, long time. Maybe like back to Steve Spagnuolo the first time around, right? Not so much second time around. So you could just tell, and watching their progression, that I just thought, you know what, this defense is going to get it together. We saw what Wink did with the Ravens. This is a blitz happy defense. This is aggressive. These guys want to play aggressive. And, you know, I am concerned about the depth a little bit, but listen, we still need to get Ojulari back. We still need to get Thibodeau back. So some of these young kids are really shining and they are playing lights out, and they want to be there. They've completely bought into Wink Martindale and the entire defensive coaching system. So I maintain they're going to finish in the top 10.
Yeah, great prediction there. Obviously, you look at my background. I'm an Oregon Duck guy, so I loved Kayvon Thibodeau. But the problem I have with him is that he's got a lot of Jadeveon Clowney in him. When he wants to play, he'll get you 3 sacks in a quarter. He'll dominate, but there are times where he seems unmotivated. He is now injured. We don't know when he's coming back. Should be over the next couple of weeks. Are you still as high on this guy as I was when the Giants picked him at number 5?
Yes. Oh, I was so excited, and to get Evan Neal, I was like, this is a dream come true. When he did practice, we were able to see glimpses of what this kid can do. And I cannot wait till we get to see him fully back, fully healthy. I think he's just going to be a beast. And, they appreciate his leadership in the locker room. And I think that's going to translate onto the field.
Okay, let's move to the offense a little bit here. I did not like picking this guy in the first round. I do not like Daniel Jones as a quarterback, as a leader. But if there is someone who could get the most out of him, it's your head coach. So are you still on the fence with Daniel Jones, or can he finally be a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, for me personally, I think at this point, I have seen all I need to see. I think we know exactly what Daniel Jones is. Maybe a tick up from a Ryan Tannehill. That Tennessee matchup was not as it was more similar than I think people thought it would be. So to me, Daniel Jones is like a great high-end backup. Brian Daboll has done a good job of letting him manage the game. That completion rate is hovering about 70%. So if he can manage the game, we get the run game going, you can win. But is he the franchise quarterback? No, but with my luck, he will do just enough to get a contract extension.
It's so funny. I always talk about the Jets, growing up a Jet fan, and they had a survey last year, who was the greatest Jets quarterback of all time. And most of it was the younger fans. So it was Chad Pennington was number 1. Oh, wow. And Joe Namath was number 2. So it just goes to show you, I know how it feels to have a quarterback situation. And it's like you just said, if the Giants make the playoffs, they go 10-7, and he puts up 30 touchdowns, it's going to be hard not to sign him. But you don't want this guy long-term, correct?
No, I don't. And I know a lot of the fan base doesn't either. But like you said, if he performs like that, how do you not sign him, right? So it's, and honestly, that would just be our luck. I did predict him at 9 wins. So listen, if they beat the Cowboys on Monday and they're 3-0, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty safe pick if they win on Monday. All right, let's talk about Barkley. I think he's the best dual threat running back when healthy. I mean, we've seen stories, this guy squatting 600 pounds. Yeah. He's built like a 2x4. One of the things that I know a lot of fantasy people who have Christian McCaffrey, he's on like a pitch count. They don't want to give him more than 20 touches a game. Is that the same with Saquon Barkley? Is he on a pitch count, so to speak, or are they just going with the flow with him?
Yeah, from my understanding, they're just going with the flow with him. And that also includes the wide receivers, just to, for anybody for fantasy, if you have any Giants wide receivers, Brian Daboll has made it very clear that depending on the matchup and the game plan, they're just going to go with the best players that fit for that week. Saquon Barkley, I had said all summer, if you can get him, grab him in fantasy. I did grab him. I said he was back. I said early, we see the explosiveness, we see the quickness, we see that lateral running, but now he's got that power running. The offensive line is doing a better job of creating holes. Listen, the best thing about Barkley, we've all seen it, right? Whether you like him or not, just one play. That's it. One stiff arm, and he's taking it to the house. So, he was frustrated with himself. He was frustrated with the rehabbing process. We all heard him on that podcast saying, F this, F the noise. But he did clarify to us, actually 2 days later, when we had asked him at the podium. And he said, no, that was more of me. I was frustrated with the rehabbing process. I just wanted to get back to the player I knew I could be. And he said that mentally he's in a much better state this season.
Yeah, I have him in my fantasy too. My friend Bill asked me if we picked matching outfits because we're both wearing the same color. No, but more importantly, he wants to know, what is that picture of? He loves the picture that you have in your background. Is that someone walking up a plane, or the painting you have up there? What is that?
It's a joke because people always say, "Oh, it looks like you from the back." So it's just a girl walking up her private jet. It's my goal, what I aspire to be. Yes.
All right, that's a nice painting. He's definitely come. All right, let's talk about your head coach. Obviously, did wonders for Josh Allen in Buffalo. See, the players seem to love this guy. He seems to be making all the right decisions, including going for the 2-point conversion in week 1. What do you like about him? And is there anything, if there's anything you don't like about him right now?
Yeah, right now I like what he's bringing to this team. When you're around the team and you talk to Brian Dable, and listen, he's very nice to the media, and we appreciate that. He'd joke with us on the sidelines and just kind of have a good time. But he really respects his players. He really, truly does. He respects the amount of hard work that goes into making a team and performing and meeting these high expectations. So it is a culture of respect, and it goes both ways. Listen, he lets his players be themselves. He's not trying to fit everybody into a box. He is trying to create this culture of you be you, and I'm going to find a way to make this work, right? So everybody has bought in. And I think that, listen, if anyone's going to get Daniel Jones, to the next level, it will be Brian Dable. However, I hate when I hear my fellow media members ask him to compare Josh Allen to Daniel Jones. It's a little ridiculous to me, but he handles it well. He just kind of laughs it off and says, oh, every quarterback is different. But so far, I like what I see. I love the aggressive play calling. We haven't had that in a long time either. And hey, he said, we're going for the win. And that's it. You go for the win.
All right, we're talking with Nikki Gist here. We have a couple more minutes before she goes to her show at 11:30. Real quick, give us some keys to Monday night game. You have two defenses that have not let up a lot of points. You have Cooper Rush, who's played well. If I'm a Giant fan, I never expected us to go 3-0. But if they do, your perspective might change a little bit. They could be a legitimate 9-10 win team, right?
Yeah, they could. And then that would be great because that means my prediction came true. And I can tell everybody I told you so. And you can stop calling me crazy. You nailed it. For me, those are the two key matchups of the game. Listen, I think we're in for a normal NFC East slugfest. I think this is a defensive battle. I don't think it's high scoring. I think we're looking at like 16-13, somewhere in there. So it's going to come down to the defenses. And for me, it's going to come down to which quarterback is going to make the least mistakes. The good thing about playing the Cowboys is they tend to give away the entire game in the last few minutes on like 14 penalties back to back. And if it comes down to play calling, I trust Brian Dable a little bit more. But Micah Parsons is a problem. And Brian Dable said he is a problem. Obviously, that is a huge concern. But again, this is just going to come down to the defenses and which quarterback is going to be able to manage this game a little bit better and make the least amount of mistakes.
Okay, Nikki, before we let you go, real quick, I'm from New York, New Jersey, grew up. Obviously, if you look at my background, you'll see my little Met thing there. If the season ended 2 months ago, I would say the Yankees are a better team. But right now, I think the Mets are the second best team behind the Dodgers in the entire league. A lot of people want to talk Houston. How confident are you the Yankees, who definitely struggled the second half of the season, can make a deep playoff run?
I think you always have to have faith in the Yankees, right? I think it's foolish to count them out. So, I would say confidence is high right now. It's just, that's one team that I just don't tend to bet against.
Okay, so are you confident? Do you look at my Mets and the people in New York? Are the Mets finally getting credit? Because the same old is, the Mets will blow it, they'll choke. But do you look at the Mets team from the outside and say, hey, they're pretty damn good this year?
Yeah, no, they are. And I think you have to be, let's be objective. I know it's hard for fans to always be objective. And that's the great thing about doing sports podcasting. You learn to be a little more objective. No, but you do have to give credit where credit is due. And the Mets really are performing and surprising a lot of people. So yes, no, they are a good team. And let's just, come on, New York fans, let's just give credit where credit's due. Try to be a little objective here. But, great for the Mets fans, right? You guys should be so excited.
We've suffered for so long.
A long time. I know. Yeah. I'm a long-suffering Knicks fan. I'm hoping one year.
Listen, we'll get into that because me too. All right, let's let you go. You got your show. Finally, someone asked, so who wins Monday night? And you said 16-13. Are you taking the Giants or taking the Cowboys?
I'm sorry, Giants Nation. I have to take the Cowboys. We play horrible on Monday night. We have lost 9 of the last 10 against the Cowboys. I guess law of averages would say, hey, this might be the week. I've just seen way too many Monday night meltdowns. So until I see otherwise, I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys on this one.
Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have your show. How can we follow you? How can we support you?
Yeah, you guys follow me on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, at NikkiNick9384. My show schedule is there, so you'll be able to find me. And all my shows are on YouTube and Facebook, streaming live. Again, Tuesdays at 8 o'clock for Giants guys. Wednesdays is 3rd and 3 at 7 o'clock, and hop over to Channel Side Bets in about 10 minutes. So we will be live at 11:30, and watch me drink my wake-up juice.
Nikki, definitely when your shows are on, if you remember, put them on my page. I have a lot of Giant fans who follow me, so they can start following you as well. Thanks so much for taking the time out. I appreciate it. And we'll have you on in a few weeks to talk the Knicks.
Yes, let's do that.
All right. Thanks so much,
All
Nikki.
right,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that was Nikki, guys. Had to get her on early because, like you said, like she said, she has a show at 11:30. She is tearing it up. She's doing shows almost every day of the week, and as you can see, very knowledgeable. Definitely passionate about her New York teams, Yankees, Giants, and we'll definitely get her on in a couple weeks to watch the Knicks. When we come back, we're going to break down every game in the NFL. I am 21-10 picking games, and we're going to do the good, the bad, and maybe the funny. You're watching the full Monty Sports Show live on YouTube.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
Hey football fans, we have a great offer for you from one of our newest partners, FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up now for a new FanDuel account by using our special link located in the description, and you will get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That means that you can bet up to $1,000 on your first wager risk-free. FanDuel will give you the amount you wagered back in free bets if you lose. So go ahead and bet on your favorite team this Sunday, and even if they lose, you are taken care of. To claim this special offer, just click the link in the description and create a new account. Then, make your first bet on whatever you like. That's it. Win some money at FanDuel today.
Enjoy 40% off site-wide. Vitable takes the guesswork out of feeling good. Get your own personalized daily vitamin pack safely delivered to your doorstep every month. Take their online quiz to find out which vitamins and minerals can support your personal needs based on your own diet and lifestyle. # only what you need, nothing that you don't. All vitamins are manufactured in Australia at the highest quality standard. Ingredients come in the best form for their absorption by your body. Enjoy 40% off site-wide using code NBS40 at checkout.
All right, we're having some problems with the chat room, so if you want, text me and I'll try to get them up there. But keep trying to get the comments up there. All right, so I want to thank Nikki Gist again. Did a tremendous job. But we normally start the show with the good and the bad. So let's start with the good. Listen, I had the Philadelphia Eagles as my surprise team in the league, and they're playing great. But the gift just keeps on giving is Jerry Jones. First, the owner of the Cowboys said, we need to feed Zeke the ball. He is the key to our offense. Jerry, have you watched Ezekiel Elliott over the past 5 years? In 2016, 108.7 yards. Look how it has declined over the past few years. So for Jerry Jones to say that Ezekiel Elliott is the key to our offense, you don't know what the key to the offense is, because it's definitely not a guy who was once averaging 108 yards a game 5, 6, 7 years ago, and now he's averaging 52 yards per game. But Jerry Jones came out this week and said that he hopes Cooper Rush, the starting Cowboy, can remain consistent playing so that they have a quarterback controversy in Dallas. Wouldn't it be something if you had a dilemma as to which way to go? Jerry Jones said Thursday. If Cooper gets 10 wins That's something that happened to Prescott in 2016. The Cowboys lost their quarterback, Dak Prescott, to the Tampa Bay Bucks, so reportedly out 6 to 8 weeks, maybe more. And Jerry Jones says, of course I want a quarterback controversy. Jerry, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? Why would you want to? I understand that you want your backup, Cooper Rush, to play well. I get that totally. So, yes, we had a little microphone problems. I get that. But let's be honest here. Jerry, shut up. The last thing you want is your quarterback to be like, hey, I'm the starter, and now I come back off an injury and I'm not starting anymore. Jerry Jones is the only owner that actively sabotages his team, not by his actions like a Daniel Snyder in Washington or the Jets ownership, but just by his press conference and his words. Jerry, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I'm sure Dallas fans want you to shut up. But if I'm an Eagle fan, if I'm a Giant fan, if I'm a Washington fan, I want this guy to keep talking. I want this guy to keep talking. Because every time he opens his mouth, it's hurting the morale of the team. So that's the good. Now let's get to the bad. So we saw all over the place. The head coach of the Celtics is now suspended for a year because he had an affair with numerous married women in the Celtic organization. Now, if this was him just cheating on his wife, actress Nia Long, no one would care. Now, before we get into what happened, I have to tell you, I coached college basketball for a few years as an assistant. And what I would do in my spare time in the summer is I worked all these basketball summer camps from Florida to Syracuse, New York. I spent the entire summer just working basketball camps. And my first year working, I busted my ass. And the second year, I got to know all the assistant coaches, the head coaches, and I became the commissioner of that particular league. So let's say you have 32 teams. They break it down to 4 8 leagues. And I'd be the commissioner of one of those leagues. And then after I stopped coaching college basketball, I was coaching AAU, and I became the director for 5-star invitational basketball camp held in the Poconos. Now just Google 5-star invitational basketball camp. Every college pro coach, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, every legendary high school basketball player goes to 5-star invitational basketball camp. And my job was, part of my job was the last 2 nights of camp, I was to take all the high school coaches out and some of the college coaches that were there recruiting out to dinner, drinks and dinner. And I remember the first night I did it, I called up the president of Eastern Invitational at 11 o'clock. I go, the bill's $1,500. He said, Monty, I don't care. It costs these coaches, each team, let's say a coach brings in his JV team and his varsity team. It costs each coach $500 a team. So I'm making $1,000 off these coaches. You're taking, a lot of them wouldn't go, but a lot of them did. You're taking 20 coaches out and it's $1,500. I made $1,500 off one of those coaches. And they would drink, they would get drunk. I got to become very close with a lot of assistant coaches from major college basketball programs, the biggest on the East Coast. I remember Chris Collins, who was an assistant coach, Doug Collins' son, came into my room at 1 o'clock in the morning when he was assistant at Seton Hall with a 6-pack of beer, woke me and my friend Dan up and said he just got the call. He's going to be working for Coach Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. He was leaving Seton Hall, and he was so happy And he came into my room at 1 o'clock, and I'm like, wow, I made it. Chris Collins is coming to me. This guy's going to be coaching at Duke. But the amount, and I say this, and this is a low number. I would say about 75% of the college coaches that I got to know, their head coach at that university was cheating on their wife. And they do it with people who work in the office, secretaries, PR people. They do it with their the trainers, the female trainers, and they do it with college students. I know 2 college coaches who had an affair, and they wind up marrying the college student, and they were 15, 20 years older. I'm not mentioning any names, so don't tell me that I'm speaking out of turn or sharing secrets. I'm not mentioning any names. My point is, there are 5 or 6 professions where people cheat, and I'm not making an excuse for it. Not at all. Doctors and nurses hook up all the time. Teachers, okay, cheat all the time. Actors, actresses, rock stars, athletes, and coaches. Now, I don't care that this guy had an affair. The problem is, and this is why he will never coach again in the NBA, he was having an affair with people who are in the office who he knows. There are rumors that he had an affair with the president of the Celtics' wife. There are rumors that he had an affair with the person who handles the finances for the Celtics. You don't do that. You don't do that. Now, there was a hockey coach named Ted Nolan in the 90s for the Buffalo Sabres. And there was a rumor that he had an affair with one of the players' wives. The guy has never worked again. Now, he said it's because of racism. He says because he showed up to practice one time hungover and the media blew it out of proportion. You do not sleep with people who you work with wives. That is just a no-no in sports. It should be a no-no anywhere. You see all over social media. You see all over social media a woman finds a man cheating on her, and she goes after the other woman. Or a guy finds his girlfriend or wife cheating on her, and he punches the guy. What are you hitting him for? How do you know what she's telling that guy? Right? She could tell that guy, we sleep in separate beds. We're just in it for the money. I don't love him. Who knows? I dated a woman who was separated. I have no idea what she told her husband. Never asked, didn't care. But when you sleep with the wives of people you work with, there's a special place. I don't believe in hell, but there's a special place of karma for you. This guy's never going to work again because no NBA team is going to hire a guy who is sleeping with people that he works with, their wives. Not going to happen. And I thought he was a good coach. I liked him. I thought he did a great job with the Boston Celtics. But when you do that, you don't deserve to get another chance. And again, if someone if you're married, let's say you're a guy and you're married, and your wife cheats on you with a family member, a cousin, your best friend, yeah, that guy should get punched in the face because he knows you're married. But if it's some random woman just cheating on, if your wife is cheating on you, don't take it out on the guy if he doesn't know you. You don't know what she's telling him. This guy did it knowing every one of the wives that he was hooking up with, he knew their husbands. And that's just being a scumbag. End of story. End of story. So I don't know what's going to happen. He'll never coach the Celtics again. I can guarantee it. If you watch the press conference and Brad Stevens looked like he was going to cry. It's not about having an affair. That's between a man. One of the things that really bothered me is when Alex Rodriguez was on the road, I think it was the New York Post or Daily News, someone posted a picture of him who was married going into a hotel room with a stripper. And his wife had to see that. That's disgusting, man. Like, you don't do that. That's between Alex Rodriguez and his wife, or his former wife. And if these guys have an open marriage or whatever, that's fine. But the fact that he did it in-house, he's working with these people and he's sleeping with their wives, that's just a terrible, terrible human being. All right, let's get to the NFL. I am 21-10 picking games. 21-10 picking games. Since the NFL expanded to the playoffs to 14 teams in 2020, 18 teams have started 0-2. 18 teams. Out of those 18 teams, none have made the playoffs. So, the Bengals, statistically right now, have been eliminated from the playoffs. The Raiders have been eliminated from the playoffs. The Titans have been eliminated from the playoffs. If you go by this model, because the last 18 teams to start 0-2 since the playoff format has been expanded didn't make the playoffs. All right, again, I'm 21-10 picking games. Let's get through this. My favorite part of the show right now. Okay, 2-0 Eagles travel to Washington to take on the 1-1 Commanders. Carson Wentz facing his old team. A revenge game for Carson Wentz. By the way, I still see a lot of hatred for Carson Wentz on social media. He's having a very good year. But the Eagles are my sleeper team. This is a trap game for the Eagles. Went on national TV on Monday night, and they destroyed the Vikings. This could be a trap game. I expect Washington to come out fired up, but I think the Eagles and Jalen Hurts will them to victory, and they win 29-26. Don't be surprised if Wentz throws a late interception, but they really shouldn't. People should not be killing Carson Wentz. He's having a very good year. All right, Bills Mafia is all over the place here in Miami. Excuse me. Everywhere you go, all we see is Bill Mafia. I went running today, saw a bunch of flags. Someone posted in the Nuts and Bolts Sports chat right by where I live, all Bills Mafia out to breakfast, a brunch, drinking, partying. Good for them. In Buffalo's last 20 wins, they have beaten their opponents by double digits in every game. They aren't just winning, they are dominating. Think about this. Buffalo beat the Super Bowl champs and the Tennessee Titans, who played in the playoffs last year and won their division. Over the past 2 weeks, they have outscored them 72-17. 72-17. They're dominating. They're dominating. Now, I will say this about the Miami Dolphins. They are fun to watch. And their head coach, Mike McDaniel, is just playing chess while everyone is playing checkers. So what McDaniel is doing, because the Dolphins have so much speed with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, what they're doing is he goes into the huddle. He has a fullback, a running back, a tight end, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. So the defensive coordinator sees that in the huddle. He's like, this is called a jumbo package. They're going to run the ball. And what does McDaniel do? The defensive coordinator brings in their tacklers, their run defense. He lines them up 5 wide. He lets the fullback, the running back, the tight end, and the 2 wide receivers line up as wide receivers. 5 people going out for passes, and it's creating mismatches. I mean, look, the Ravens are a good football team. They're a good defensive football team. Waddle and Tyreek Hill were wide open every time because Mike McDaniel, the head coach, is creating great mismatches. I want to take the Dolphins, but I do think that Buffalo is still the class of the National League, of the AFC East. So I'm going to take the Bills to win this one 30-27. 30-27. Cincinnati Bengals, as I mentioned, 0-2 at the 1-1 Jets. Look, I said the Bengals would take a step back. I didn't even have them winning the division. They spent all this money on Joe Burrow, the offensive line. He's been hit over 20 times and sacked 13 times. Joe Burrow has lost the last 2 games to Mitchell Trubisky, okay, and Cooper Rush. This is who Joe Burrow's losing to. Are you kidding me? And now he's playing Joe Flacco. My brother is a big time Cincinnati Bengals fan, and he thinks that they will get it right this week against the Jets. I do too. Let's take the Bengals here, 30-24. Jacksonville, 1-1 at the Chargers, 1-1. Chargers are facing injuries. Keenan Allen hamstring, Justin Herbert's ribs. I think Justin Herbert's going to play, but he doesn't seem to be too concerned in the press conferences that I've been following all week regarding, being injured. Trevor Lawrence and Robinson have played well. Trevor Lawrence finally has a coach who's going to make him become the franchise quarterback. But I think the Chargers defense is too much here, even if Herbert doesn't play. Look for LA to win this game, 33-20. Atlanta Falcons, 0-2 at the 1-1 Seattle Seahawks. Here's what I know. Said it with her early on. Kyle Pitts with Nikki. He's going to have a monster game. Okay? He's going to have a monster game. They're going to look to feed him early and often. Listen, Seattle won their Super Bowl, right? Geno Smith, Pete Carroll. They beat the Denver Broncos early, week 1. But they're not a good team. They'll be lucky to win 5 games. But here's what I'm going to say to Marcus Mariota. Everywhere Marcus Mariota has went, he has had conservative coaches in the NFL. And I'm tired of Marcus Mariota saying in press conferences, when the coach calls a play, it's our job and it's my job to make it work. No, Marcus, no. Okay? My brother says all the time, on 3rd and 10, if a coach calls a run, you change the play. If you're going to run a dive up the middle on 3rd and 10, just punt on 3rd down. Marcus, I love you, dude. You're my favorite player in the NFL. My very first article that I ever wrote was about Marcus Mariota at the University of Oregon. You got to stop this passive BS and change the play. People don't realize this. When Mariota was with the Titans, they played a wild card game against Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. They were down, I think, 21-3 at halftime. Mariota came out and he was calling the plays at the line of scrimmage, and they won the game. They beat the Chiefs on the road 22-21, I think in 2018. Marcus, if your head coach, who is super conservative, if he calls a running play on 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, this is what you say to him. Look at me. I'm the captain now. Change the damn play. You're going to lose your job as a starter because you're too damn nice. Now, I think Greg, our good friend Greg, said earlier this week the quarterbacks need to go back to calling the plays. Not every play. But Mariota, you got to stop with this be on 3rd and 7 and you run a dive. Throw the ball. Make things happen. Tell the coach, I'm the captain now. You're too good of a player to be this damn passive. I like Atlanta here. I think they get off the schneid. They've played well in their 2 losses. Remember, against New Orleans, they were up big. They blew it in the 4th quarter, and they came back against the LA Rams after starting off slow. I do not like their head coach, but take Atlanta here in a big win, 31-20. All right. Listen, I love this picture, right? This is not – the Rams have not looked well. They got blown out by Buffalo, and they struggled against the aforementioned Falcons. Kyler Murray took over the second half last week and just took the game over against the Raiders. Yes, it is time for Falcons talk. Thank you very much. I'll always talk about the Falcons. But let's get back to this Rams team. Now, Kyler Murray has struggled against the Rams. We know this. But the Rams are just playing. It's like they're bored, right? It's like they're bored. I'm going with the Rams here just because I don't think Arizona has enough talent to beat the well-versed Rams, and I think this picture is cool as hell. So I'm taking the Rams here, 31-24. Okay, the featured matchup right here, Green Bay Packers, 1-1 at the 2-0 Tampa Bay Bucks. No Mike Evans because he assaulted Matt Lattimore last week. And for all you people saying, oh, he's got to stick up for his quarterback, they just signed 2 practice squad players to Tampa Bay. And Cole Beasley makes a return, the former wide receiver for the Dolphins, for the Bills, because every wide receiver is hurt for Tampa Bay. And I'm going to say something here. You look at these 2 guys, right? And what do you think? First ballot Hall of Famers, 2 of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But do either of these guys care anymore, really care about winning a Super Bowl? Aaron Rodgers has podcasts. He's more worried about doing photo ops. Tom Brady took a couple weeks off. I think he's going to be on The Masked Singer. If this was 5 or 6 years ago, these guys would walk through a shark-infested ocean to get a victory. Now I don't think these guys care as much. And it's really, really weird to say that. But they both have so much money. They both have so many things going on outside of football that I really don't think they care. But I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Bucks here, and Aaron Rodgers will find some excuse to blame the organization or blame someone else for the loss when he throws 2 picks today. So take Tampa Bay. I think the Bucks go 3-0, 30-20. All right, everyone's talking about the Lions. My friend Jared, people, oh, how great. I was so wrong about the Lions. What was I wrong about? I had them winning 7 or 8 games. The Lions and Jets, just based off their crappy draft picks every year for the past, their crappy records, so they get great draft picks every year, number 1 through 10, should be great. They should both make the playoffs this year, but neither of them are. Now look, the Vikings got embarrassed. Kirk Cousins at 1 o'clock on Sunday is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Kirk Cousins, Sunday night, playoff games, or Monday night, is a JV quarterback. But they're playing at 1 o'clock today. I'm taking the Vikings 33. A lot of high scores this week. 33-27 over the improved Detroit Lions. Baltimore Ravens 1-1 at the Patriots 1-1. The Ravens were outscored 28-3 by the Dolphins in the fourth quarter before losing 42-38. Good news for them is the Patriots won't score 38 points in 3 weeks. Their offense is so bad. Their offense is so bad. I watch the Patriots and I'm like, how is Bill Belichick an elite coach? And let's give him credit. He came into this league as a defensive coach. And when Brady was there, he became the most aggressive coach on 4th down. He went for it on 4th down more than any other coach. So he knew that offense wins, but for some reason, they just can't get it right. They just can't get it right. I really believe that Baltimore takes full advantage of them with their embarrassing loss last week, 42-38. It's not embarrassing to lose to the Dolphins, but to just totally melt down in the fourth quarter like they did. Harbaugh is too good of a coach. They take it to the Patriots today, 27-13. 27-13. Look for Lamar Jackson to have a very good game. All right, New Orleans Saints 1-1 at the 0-2 Carolina Panthers. Matt Rule, don't know what you're doing, but I do know that you've lost 9 straight games, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. We know that the Saints are built on defense. You have 2 Heisman Trophy quarterback winners here in Baker Mayfield and Jameis Winston, and they're both terrible. Winston is like Sammy Watkins, right? Sammy Watkins will have one game where he has 8 catches, 180 yards as a wide receiver, and 2 touchdowns, and then the next 3 games he's terrible. That's Winston. Winston played great against the Atlanta Falcons in the fourth quarter, terrible against Tampa Bay, so he may have a good game this week. But if I'm running a franchise, do I want my quarterback to be Jekyll and Hyde? No, I don't want the Ryan Fitzpatricks of the world who are going to get you 3 touchdowns in a quarter and then throw 3 interceptions the next quarter. I want consistency. Jameis doesn't have that. The good news is it won't matter because Carolina is so dysfunctional under Matt Rule. They lose this game in an ugly game, 20-13. Houston Texans, the return of Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith, former Bears coach, travels to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Bears took a beating Sunday night, okay, against the Green Bay Packers, 27-10. What I don't understand is I know Matt Eberflus is a defensive coach. But, guys, they were down big early. And your star quarterback threw the ball 11 times? Are you kidding me? You're down 27-10. Your quarterback should throw 40 times. The Texans are playing hard. They're very well coached. But I got to think the Bears at home. I actually like the Bears to win 7 or 8 games this year. So I think the Bears take care of business at home, and they win this game 20-17. What's going on in Indianapolis? The 2-0 Chiefs travel to Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor had 9 rushes. He's the best running back in the league. They gave him the ball 9 times last week. Frank Reich, what the hell are you doing? You should be fired just for that alone. If I had Jonathan Taylor, 30 times a game he's touching the ball. 5 passes, 25 rushes. End of story. Listen, the Chiefs won last week, and Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster did nothing. But Patrick Mahomes found a way to win. Colts are going to be 0-3 after this game. Take the Chiefs 34-23. Okay, who would have thought the Raiders would start 0-2 and the Tennessee Titans would start 0-2? I don't know what they're doing in Tennessee, but you let A.J. Brown go, and there's no replacement for him. I don't know what they're doing in Las Vegas, but Devontae Adams, the former Packer wide receiver, had 2 catches last week. Are you kidding me? You talk about Jonathan Taylor, the best running back in the NFL, getting 9 touches. And Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the NFL, getting 2 catches. What are you doing? What are these coaching staffs doing? Derrick Henry looks like a shell of his old self. Used to be the best running back in the NFL. I don't know what he is now, but this offense in Tennessee looks terrible. I have got to assume that Derek Carr targets Devontae Adams 10 times in the first half, and that's a disaster for any defense. So I'm taking the Raiders here in just an ugly game with 2 teams struggling to get a win, 24-20. All right, Sunday night, Denver Broncos. Jimmy G is back for San Francisco. I said I don't know what's going on in Tennessee. I said I don't know what's going on in Las Vegas with the offense. What the hell is going on in Denver? They look a mess with time management, with plays getting into Russell Wilson. Now, if there is one quarterback that knows how to beat the 49ers, it's Russell Wilson, because he played all those years with Seattle against the 49ers. I think that the Broncos are going to be the worst team in the division. And it's because their head coach, first-year head coach, doesn't know what he's doing. So, I'm going with the 49ers here in a slight upset. I know it's in Denver, but I think George Kittle comes back. And I'm taking the 49ers here 26-23. 26-23. I'm 21-10 picking games. I tell people that every week. You could go back to the videotape and check. Because last year, when I was 80%, people were like, you didn't go 13-2. You didn't go. Yeah, I do. It's damn hard to pick these games. I want to be 80%. That's our goal. All right, let's get to the extra point. I am not going to let this story go away. Brett Favre's alleged involvement in the multi-million-dollar welfare scandal may have just gone from bad to worse because a key figure in the criminal case has just made a deal to cooperate with the federal agents that could put the NFL legend in crosshairs of the Justice Department. Former Mississippi Department of Human Services Director John Davis pled guilty on Thursday to conspire and steal $70 million from the people of Mississippi. $70 million. Out of those $70 million, we now have text messages from Brett Favre. Nancy, thank you again. John mentioned $4 million, and not sure if I heard him right. Very big deal. I can't thank you enough. As part of the agreement with the prosecutors, officials say Davis agreed to tell everything he knows about the massive scheme, and this could be a huge problem for Brett Favre. The former Green Bay Packer QB has been under fire after he worked with Davis and other government officials to obtain $5 million from Mississippi welfare funds to help his alma mater, the University of Southern Miss, build a new volleyball facility for his daughter. This is the text message. I'm going to say it again. Brett Favre should be in handcuffs. And don't come at me with this BS. Oh, don't bring politics into this. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with a horrible human being who knew that the poor people of Mississippi who should have got that money, he didn't take it because his family was, hurting. He didn't take it because he was a drug addict and needed drugs. He didn't take it to give to other people who needed it. He took it for his daughter's volleyball stadium. Talk about privilege. Steal the reverse Robin Hood. Stealing from the poor to give to the rich. He's made $140 million playing. You couldn't give $5 million to your alma mater? No, because he wanted to scam people. He wanted to take money from poor people because he's an egomaniac. He's a narcissist, and he thought he was getting over on the people. And he goes on TV, he goes on social media, and he talks about how he's a Christian and how he loves the Lord, and it's God, guns, and country. No, Brett, you're a scam artist. You're a fraud. And I have no idea how this man is not walking around. It's not in jail. How is he walking around free? The guy just pleaded guilty to $70 million that they stole from the welfare fund in Mississippi. And read the text again. $4 million. Thank you. Thank you. He's thanking her for stealing money from the poor so his daughter can have a new volleyball stadium. Again, I said this earlier. I don't believe in hell, but if there is a special place in hell for this guy who walks around like he's king, you know what, like he's above the law. And remember, he said, and I quote, I would never take money that wasn't belong to me for anything other than showing up and giving. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. I would never take money to not show up for a speaking engagement. I would never take money that doesn't belong to me. Really, Brett? Text message says something different. And look at the smiley face on the bottom of that. Yeah. Brett Favre needs to be put in jail. I don't understand how the hell he's walking around a free man. And let me just end with this. Michael Vick went to jail for dogfighting. Okay? For illegal dogfighting. Cruel, inhumane. He went to jail for it, and rightly so. Cruelty to animals. Terrible. Brett Favre stole $5 million from the very people who look up to him, from the very people who think he's, the prodigal son. What type of bottom feeder do you have to be to steal from the very people who love you, very people who worship you, very people who give you statues, give you free meals? Every time you walk somewhere, they clap for you because you could throw the football. One of the worst human beings on the planet. And I don't care that he's a terrible human being, because you shouldn't go to jail for that. But when you steal from the government and when you steal from poor people, lock his ass up. All right. I want to thank Nikki Gist. Remember, tomorrow we go at 6 p.m. Eastern with Brad Ward and A-Marie breaking down every game in the NFL from Sunday. We also preview the Monday night game and the Thursday night game. I'm going to be live tweeting the Dolphin game today. So if you're a Dolphin fan, if you're a Bills fan, you definitely want to check that out. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. In the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
I'm